Hello and welcome back. If you are new here, my name is Ricky. On this channel, we explore Vedic astrology in a clear, grounded, and practical way, without fear, exaggeration, or superstition. In the previous video, we spoke in depth about Saturn, also known as Shani, and how Saturn represents karma, discipline, time, and maturity. Today, we are going to focus on one of the most talked about and most feared concepts in Vedic astrology, Sade Sati. This video is designed to explain what Sade Sati actually is, how it works, why it affects people so deeply, and how to understand it without fear. Let's begin by clearing up a major misunderstanding. Sade Sati is not a punishment. Sade Sati is not a curse. And Sade Sati does not automatically mean bad events. Sade Sati is a process of emotional restructuring. In Vedic astrology, Sade Sati refers to a specific transit of Saturn in relation to the moon. The moon represents the mind, the emotions, the inner world, how life is experienced internally. When Saturn interacts strongly with the moon, emotional patterns are brought into focus. Sade Sati occurs when Saturn transits. The sign before your moon sign itself, the sign after your moon sign. This entire period lasts approximately 7.5 years. That is why it is called Sade Sati, which literally means 7.5. This long duration is one of the reasons Sade Sati feels intense. It is not a short transit, it is a prolonged period of emotional learning. Now let's talk about why Sade Sati affects people so deeply. Saturn is the planet of reality. The moon is the planet of emotion. When reality presses on emotion, inner change becomes unavoidable. Sade Sati forces you to look at how you cope, how you handle pressure, how you process disappointment, how you deal with responsibility, and how emotionally mature you truly are. This is why Sade Sati often coincides with periods of 1. Emotional heaviness, 2. Increased responsibility, 3. Loneliness or isolation, 4. Identity shifts, 5. Maturity through difficulty. But again, these are processes, not punishments. Sade Sati unfolds in 3 distinct phases. Each phase has a different focus. Understanding these phases removes a lot of fear. The first phase begins when Saturn enters the sign before your moon sign. This phase is often subtle. External life may not change dramatically yet, but internally, discomfort begins. This is when emotional avoidance patterns start to fail. Things you used to ignore begin to surface. You may feel unsettled without knowing why. This phase prepares you. The second phase occurs when Saturn transits directly over your moon sign. This is usually the most intense phase. The mind feels pressure. Emotional resilience is tested. Old emotional habits no longer work. This is where Saturn asks for emotional responsibility. Not suppression, responsibility. The third phase begins when Saturn moves to the sign after your moon sign. This phase focuses on integration. You begin to stabilize. Lessons start to make sense. Emotional strength develops. By the end of Sade Sati, most people realize they are not the same person they were at the beginning. They are usually more grounded, more mature, more emotionally aware. Now let's address an important point. Sade Sati does not affect everyone the same way. Its intensity depends on the condition of Saturn in your birth chart, the condition of the moon in your birth chart, the relationship between Saturn and the moon, other supportive or challenging factors. This is why personal charts matter. Someone with a strong, stable moon may experience Sade Sati as demanding but constructive. Someone with a sensitive moon may find it emotionally challenging, but in both cases, growth is occurring. Another major misunderstanding is that Sade Sati only brings loss. This is not true. Sade Sati brings restructuring. Sometimes restructuring involves letting go, but letting go does not mean failure. It means realignment. Many people experience important life milestones during Sade Sati: career shifts, commitments, inner breakthroughs, greater self awareness. The difference is that these changes are earned, not rushed. From a psychological perspective, Sade Sati is a period where emotional maturity is demanded. Avoidance stops working, distraction stops working, external validation stops working, inner strength must develop. This is why Sade Sati often feels lonely, but loneliness during Sade Sati is not abandonment, it is self reliance training. Let's briefly touch on mythology. In Hindu tradition, Shani is known as the giver of results, not immediately, but accurately. Shani does not rush, Shani waits until you are ready. During Sade Sati, Shani's influence on the moon intensifies. This does not mean Shani is harming the moon, it means Shani is refining the mind. Refinement often feels uncomfortable, but it leads to strength. One of the healthiest ways to approach Sade Sati is awareness. Awareness of emotions, awareness of patterns, awareness of responsibility. Fear increases suffering. Understanding reduces it. Sade Sati is not a time to panic. It is a time to slow down, to build structure, to take responsibility for emotional health, to develop patience. People who work with Sade Sati often come out stronger. People who resist it suffer more. Saturn cannot be avoided, but Saturn can be understood. It is also important to say this: not every difficult period is Sade Sati, and not every Sade Sati period is disastrous. Astrology requires nuance. If you are currently in Sade Sati, this is not a verdict on your life. It is a chapter focused on emotional maturity. If you have already completed Sade Sati, you may recognize how much you changed during that time. Often people only understand Sade Sati in hindsight. As we move forward on this channel, we will talk more about Saturn transits, dashes, and how timing works together. Sade Sati is only one piece of a much larger system. If this explanation helped reduce fear or bring clarity, I invite you to comment below. You can share whether you are currently in Sade Sati, approaching it, or reflecting on a past one. Before we close this discussion on Sade Sati, there is one more extremely important layer to understand. Saturn and Sade Sati must never be interpreted from only one chart. In Vedic astrology, we always assess Saturn from both the Lagna chart and the moon chart. This is not optional, it is essential. The Lagna chart shows external life experience, career, relationships, health, responsibilities, life direction. The moon chart shows internal experience, emotions, mental pressure, psychological response, how life is felt. Saturn works on both levels simultaneously. Ignoring one gives an incomplete picture. Let's now look at how Saturn and Sade Sati commonly express themselves through the most frequently activated areas of a chart. These are not predictions, they are themes. Always read them from both the Lagna and the moon. Saturn, affecting the first house, Lagna or moon chart. When Saturn influences the first house, life becomes serious. Responsibility increases, identity is tested. Externally, this may show as increased workload, leadership pressure, or health discipline. Internally, this often feels like self-doubt, heaviness, or identity restructuring. Saturn here forces maturity. You are asked to become your own authority. If read from the moon chart, this can feel emotionally heavy. If read from the Lagna chart, this often shows visible responsibility. Together, it shows inner and outer restructuring of self. Saturn affecting the fourth house. The fourth house relates to emotional security, home, and inner foundations. Saturn here often triggers emotional heaviness or discomfort. From the Lagna chart, this can show housing responsibilities, family duties, or property-related stress. From the moon chart, this often shows emotional withdrawal or introspection. Saturn here teaches emotional self-sufficiency. Security must come from within. Saturn affecting the seventh house. The seventh house relates to relationships and partnerships. Saturn here tests commitment, boundaries, and expectations. From the Lagna chart, relationships may feel delayed, serious, or responsibility heavy. From the moon chart, emotional loneliness or detachment may be felt. Saturn here does not deny partnership, it demands maturity and realism. Relationships that survive Saturn become stable, those that don't were not structurally sound. Saturn affecting the 10th house. The 10th house relates to career, authority, and contribution. Saturn here is powerful but demanding. From the Lana chart, career pressure increases, workload rises, recognition may be delayed. From the moon chart, responsibility may feel emotionally exhausting. Self-worth may feel tied to achievement. Saturn here builds long-term authority, but only through sustained effort. Saturn affecting the 12th house. The 12th house relates to withdrawal, loss, and inner life. Saturn here often reduces external distractions. From the Lagna chart, this may show isolation, foreign connections, or reduced visibility. From the moon chart, this can feel emotionally heavy or introspective. Saturn here is deeply spiritual. It strips away excess and ego. Now let's bring this specifically back to Sade Sati. Sade Sati always operates through the moon, but its effects manifest through the Lagna. This is why some people say, I feel terrible, but nothing is happening, while others say, my life is changing, but I feel calm. The moon chart shows how Sade Sati is felt. The Lagna chart shows how it is lived. Sade Sati Phase 1, Saturn before the moon. This phase destabilizes emotional comfort. From the moon chart, unease begins. From the Lagna chart, subtle life pressure increases. This phase exposes avoidance. Sade Sati Phase 2, Saturn over the moon. This is the emotional core of Sade Sati. From the moon chart, emotional resilience is tested. From the Lagna chart, responsibility peaks. This phase demands emotional maturity, not suppression, maturity. Sade Sati Phase 3, Saturn after the moon. This phase integrates lessons. From the moon chart, emotional stability returns. From the Lagna chart, life begins to reorganize. This phase often feels lighter, but still serious. A critical reminder: a strong moon experiences Sade Sati differently than a sensitive moon. A well-placed Saturn experiences Sade Sati differently than a stressed Saturn. This is why generalized fear around Sade Sati is misleading. Charts matter, context matters. Saturn does not treat everyone the same. Saturn treats everyone accurately. The most important thing to remember is this: Saturn and Sade Sati are not here to break you. They are here to structure you. When you view Saturn only from one chart, fear increases. When you view Saturn from both Lagna and Moon, clarity emerges. As you continue learning Vedic astrology, you will start to automatically assess both charts. And when you do, Saturn becomes predictable, not easy, but understandable. If this additional breakdown helped you see Saturn and Sade Sati more clearly, I invite you to comment below. You can share which house Saturn is affecting for you, or whether you're noticing more internal or external changes. In upcoming videos, we'll continue building this layered understanding as we explore Rahu and Ketu, planetary periods, and deeper timing techniques. Thank you for staying with this lesson. Thank you for your patience. Understanding life through the lens of Vedic astrology.